12. Stuck upside down. Roller coasters are arguably one of the best things ever invented. With the twists, turns, and elevations, it is without a doubt a thrilling experience. These rides really get your heartbeat racing, but who knew that it can also give a blood rush to the brain? Visitors at Sunak Amusement Park in China boarded a roller coaster and got more adrenaline than they were bargaining for. 20 people were having the time of their lives when the ride turned the adventure up a notch. When the roller coaster reached the highest peak of 197 feet, 60 meters, it got stuck. But the worst part was that the ride was upside down. The rescue operation took over an hour. Another roller coaster had to be taken to the spot to save them. We hope none of the people on board were scared of heights. It wasn't the first time that something like this had happened. The park authorities revealed that a similar incident occurred in 2019 as well. Apparently, the ride comes with a sensor, and if it detects any object in front of it, it gets stuck. 11. Stuck inside a washing machine. It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. When this boy's uncle pushed him inside a washing machine, he had no clue how serious the situation could get. A young boy in Malaysia was at a self-service laundrette with his mom and uncle. In what looks like a prank gone wrong, the boy was left trapped inside one of the front-loading washing machines after his uncle allegedly pushed him inside as a practical joke. His mom was washing clothes and had no idea her son was stuck inside one of the machines. Stuffing someone inside one of these things sounds like a bad idea, but things got worse when the door got jammed. The door locks are designed to automatically lock if someone hits the start button or inserts a coin in the machine. There was no way the door could be opened. The panic-stricken mom and uncle called for help when they couldn't open it themselves. Fortunately, people from a nearby restaurant arrived for help. They tried to pull it open but couldn't. With no option in sight, the door was hammered open and the kid was saved. He was in the machine for 10 minutes. We are sure those 10 minutes cramped up inside must have felt like an eternity. 10. Stuck in an elevator for 41 hours. A 34-year-old production manager from New York was working late one Friday night when he decided to have a cigarette break. Little did he know that it was going to become the longest break in his life. As he was returning to his office on the 39th floor, the elevator came to a sudden stop in between floors. He pressed the alarm in panic, but the building was deserted. People had already left for the weekend. Rescue was going to take longer than expected. He ended up being stuck in that suffocating elevator for 41 hours. He didn't have his cell phone. There was no way of calling for help. He had no food, no water, only a pack of Rolaids. Since he didn't even have a watch with him, there was no way of telling how long it had been or whether it was night or day. The human body can survive a few days without food, but the lack of water proved to be a problem. Dehydrated and starving, he broke out into a cold sweat. The whole ordeal was captured in the surveillance camera inside the elevator. Finally, help arrived when someone reached out through the intercom on Monday. 9. Stuck in bathroom for 3 weeks. Getting trapped in your bathroom in your own house isn't really the worst-case scenario. Someone from your family will come for help, or if you live alone, you can call out for help, and surely one neighbor or another will hear you. But for this grandma from France, it was a total nightmare. A 69-year-old living in a Paris suburb got trapped inside her windowless bathroom when the knob came off. She definitely didn't have the strength to break the door down, and there was no window she could escape through or call for help from. She shouted for help but was unsuccessful. With no other option in sight, she started banging on the walls with her shoes during the day and on the bathroom pipes at night. The sound was loud enough to catch the attention of her neighbors, but they just assumed there was construction work going on. In fact, the sound was so loud that the tenants in the building even complained about stopping any construction work at night. The woman was surviving on the warm water from the tap. It saved her from dehydration, but her body went into starvation mode. The neighbors finally noticed something was wrong when her mail started piling up outside the door. When rescuers came, they found her lying on the bathroom floor in a weakened state, but alive. 8. Forgotten in solitary confinement. In prison, the inmates are never out of sight, and they are constantly under watch. So when this 25-year-old student was arrested, the last thing he would have imagined was this. He had been taken into custody after a drug bust and put into a solitary confinement cell to be dealt with later. Since he wasn't officially guilty of any crime, the cops told him they'd talk to him later, but they got busy with other things and they completely forgot about him. He was locked up in the cell for 4 days with cuffed hands, forgotten, with no food, water, or even sunlight. After the 3rd day, he started hallucinating. He urinated on a metal bench so he could have something to drink. He stacked a blanket, his trousers, and shoes on a bench and tried to reach an overhead fire sprinkler so he could set it off. But nothing worked. He broke his glasses and tried to carve "Sorry Mom" on his arm with no hopes of surviving. Finally, after 4 days, some cops finally found him. He was rushed to the hospital where he was under observation for 5 days. The lack of food and water caused severe dehydration, kidney failure, cramps, and a perforated esophagus. He had lost 15 pounds, 60 kilograms. 7. Horrific car park death. Getting trapped in awkward positions can sure be embarrassing, but for this 23-year-old, it turned out to be fatal. Victoria Strauss from Ohio was trying to pay for her parking with her credit card when she accidentally dropped the card outside. Strauss tried to pick up the card without leaving the vehicle, and that mistake cost her life. As she reached down to get the card, she accidentally stepped on the car's accelerator. The car moved forward, and her head got jammed. She died at the scene. The incident occurred at night, and her body was discovered the following day. 6. Stuck in a traffic cone. A prankster tried to cheer shoppers on a lazy Sunday but ended up getting himself in trouble. People of Hemel Hempstead, England, initially laughed when the man took a traffic cone and put it over his head, but he took it too far. The plastic barrel slipped down over his torso and trapped his arms. He was stuck and couldn't see anything at all. Passerby thought it was part of his act and didn't bother to help. Finally, one of his friends and a cop realized that he was struggling and freed him from the ordeal. Fortunately, he didn't sustain any injuries. The panic attack was enough to scare him to death. 5. Man stuck in public toilet. Dropping your phone in the toilet has to be one of the worst nightmares of our times, but this man from Norway had to face something worse. After a friend dropped his phone in the toilet, a gentleman volunteered to get it back. Wow, what an awesome friend. He climbed into the toilet feet first. Are you wondering how he could even get in? The public toilets in Norway are different, and they're connected to a tank instead of a sewer. The tanks are emptied only once a season, so you can imagine how full it might have been and how bad it must have smelled. As he went in, he instantly became sick because of the contents of the tank. He was thigh-deep in feces, and when he couldn't take it anymore, he began to puke. The tank was full of pests and rodents. After he went down, he realized that he really didn't know how to get out. Of all the places one can get stuck in, a public toilet's tank has to be the worst. His friend called for help and firefighters broke the toilet to get him out. He sustained some injuries on his upper arms and was also bitten many times by the animals in the tank. He was rushed to the hospital where he was given antibiotics. After the whole puke-inducing incident, was he able to get the phone? No. 4. Stuck inside an arcade machine. Kids love toys, but this little one from Nottinghamshire probably loves them too much. He was at an indoor games arcade with his family when his eyes fell on a teddy bear inside the claw machine. His mom had taken his brother to the toilet and left him with a friend to play with. As she came back, a woman pointed towards the claw machine and asked her if that was her child. As the mom looked over, she saw that her 3-year-old toddler had climbed into the crane and was now stuck inside the machine. It was a tough couple of minutes for the mom when the authorities of the arcade told her that the machine was operated by a third party and they didn't have the key to it. But luckily the machine was sealed with padlocks. It took 10 minutes for them to break the padlocks, and finally the toddler was reunited with his mom. 3. Burglar gets stuck. A burglar thought he cracked the perfect plan to break into a business. You have to give him credit for his creativity, no matter how disastrous the outcome was. He planned to break in through the grease vent of a Chinese restaurant, but he missed out on one crucial aspect of his plan. He didn't anticipate how narrow the duct would be. The result? He got stuck in the vent, covered in grease. Since the restaurant was empty, there was no one to listen to his cries for help. He was trapped in such a position that he couldn't even move. It's a claustrophobic person's worst nightmare. But how was he rescued then? People had heard a faint voice calling for help and then discovered him stuck there. Firefighters had to work for an hour to get him out of the mess. When they finally took him out of the vent, he was rushed to the hospital. The man was severely dehydrated and exhausted. After 2 days of being stuck without food or water in a vent where you can't even move an inch, it is a miracle that he survived without any serious internal harm. Wait a minute. Was the man arrested for trying to break in? Police had no solid evidence that the man was going to steal from the business, so instead they are thinking of charging him with trespassing. 2. Wheelchair stuck to the truck. The emergency team didn't believe it when they heard a frantic woman on the call saying a truck was pushing a guy in a wheelchair. Was it a prank call? As dispatchers were trying to determine if the call was genuine, more calls started pouring in describing the same incident. The 20-year-old man in the wheelchair was crossing the road with his father. He had made it midway when the signal turned green. His father was able to cross the road, but he got stranded in the middle of the road. But not for long. An 18-wheel semi slowly took off, pushing the wheelchair parallel to the grill, where the chair's hand grips slipped between the slats and got stuck. The driver was sitting too high on his rig and didn't even notice he was dragging a wheelchair along with him. The 20-year-old was dragged along for 2 miles, 3 kilometers, before the cops stopped the truck. Luckily, no one suffered any injuries, but the man in the wheelchair had one hell of a ride. What? Stuck while escaping. Prisoners trying to escape has been a common trope in movies and soaps, but sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. And in this case, hilarious too. In what looks like a page straight out of a slapstick comedy, a prisoner in Brazil got stuck while trying to escape. Talk about Shawshank Redemption gone wrong. The 18-year-old was arrested after he allegedly robbed a shop. He had stolen money and a watch from the store owner. He was also busted for allegedly trying to break into a commercial warehouse, though he didn't steal anything. But what makes this incident incredible is the fact that the teen had only been in custody for a few hours when he decided to steal his freedom back. He tried to escape through a hole on the door of his cell, and it was too small for him to slip through, and he got stuck midway with his hips and legs dangling on one side of the door and the rest of his body on the other side. Firemen were called to save him, and the operation took over 4 hours. First, they covered the door in oil to smooth it out and prevent it from breaking apart completely. They managed to cut through the door with a hydraulic tool and finally rescued him. He remained in custody after being rescued. Thanks for watching. Which of these situations was the worst to you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.